大家好，我是麦大特龙。今天我们一起学习汉语。No, we are not. We are not studying Chinese today. We are laughing together because I'm watching Language Simp again upon great request by Niman. So let's do it. Okay, so language review Chinese. There is a panda, 熊猫, I think they say. I don't even remember. There is the flag. There is the lady, as always. And let's jump into it. I don't even know what to say. Hit me. I might understand this one better than the other one about Portuguese because I do know a thing or two about Chinese, so that's going to be great.
大家好，欢迎来到 Language Review。我叫
Yeah. Welcome to Language. 欢迎来到那。
Language Simp，我是美国人，我不说中文。今天 in this episode, I will be discussing Mandarin Chinese, aka TikTok language. This is the third episode of Language
Yeah.
Review, a series where I review the languages of the world, sort of like a film critic or a video game reviewer, but for languages. Specifically from the perspective of a language learner. I'll discuss who speaks them, their grammar, their difficulty, and tons of other stuff before finally giving them an official Language Simp certified rating on the Simp scale. If you enjoyed this video, let me know which language in the comments you'd like me to review next, and also join my free Discord server, link in the description, where you can connect with over 13,000 other language learners from all around the world.
That's a lot.
Without further ado, let's begin.
I'll take you up on that, Language Simp. Review Sicilian. Double dare you.
I love Chinese. I get it every week. I order orange chicken and I love fortune cookies.
Oh no.
Anyway, Chinese is takeout food, but it's also a language spoken in, you guessed it, China, a country spanning from the extremely democratic Republic of North Korea, reaching just shy of the Uzbek border, gently kissing Russia to the north in 2 locations, and tightly hugging the Indian subcontinent as well as Southeast Asia. And
I actually find it hilarious that he mentioned the orange chicken, and of course he did it on purpose, but orange chicken clearly isn't Chinese food. It's like Chinese American food. And every time we go to Panda Express, the very rare occasions that we do, it's a little too sweet for me. Like literally, I feel like it has the same amount of sugar as a Starbucks coffee.
just look at how Afghanistan wiggled their arm out just to desperately touch a little part of China. If that's not proof that something magical is happening in China, I don't know what is. Additionally, Chinese is spoken widely in Singapore and Taiwan.
Yes.
I don't know anything about Taiwan. Is it a country or not? I don't know anything about politics, so I don't want to talk about it in this video, okay? Let me know in the comments what you
I do love the Taiwanese accent. It sounds very soft as compared to mainland China. My favorite accent is Beijing. Although then again, I should say my favorite accent is Putonghua, so like Standard Mandarin. But then second would be Beijinghua. Still, I mean, yeah. Also, what he's saying now, I absolutely understand it. I think the 1 or 2 times that I did talk about Taiwan a little bit, it does get really flaming in the comments. It is, of course, a political matter, which at the end of the day, we language channels don't really want to get involved with. But clearly, if you have opinions about this, I'm going to give you the same invitation. Feel free to start a flame war in the comments so we get noticed by the algorithm.
what you think. Feel free to debate each other. I don't
course they
care.
will.
But you don't even need to go to these countries to speak Chinese, as
No.
tens of millions of Mandarin speakers have migrated all around the world and created impressive diasporas in almost every country known to man.
Very true.
Notably Indonesia, Thailand, Malaysia, and the wisest of them have migrated all the way to Freedom Land. In my country and in a ton of other countries, there are an abundance of Chinatowns, which are distinct communities full of Chinese people with their culture intact,
gosh, I'm
offering
so
Chinese
hungry.
goods and services abroad. Even Ohio, of all places, has a Chinatown, which I can only pray takes over the entire state one day and renames Cleveland to New Beijing. So to summarize, learning Chinese will unlock a
Beijing.
boatload of DLC across the world,
Yeah.
both in your home country and abroad.
But Chinese is the hardest language. I couldn't learn it. I'm just a simple white girl.
Haven't you seen the YouTube videos? Black man transcends space-time by deep frying the minds of people in Chinatown with flawless Chinese. White guy causes Asian man to spontaneously combust when he surprises him in his language. Stupid white man obliterates Panda Express by ordering in perfect ancient Chinese. White woman, taser in hand, shocks the...
Perfect ancient Chinese. A Panda Express of all places. Oh my gosh, perfect ancient Chinese. Oh, don't give them ideas. Don't give them ideas. Seriously, since he was talking about Chinatowns in other cities, I think the most impressive Chinatown I've ever seen was the one in Yokohama in Japan. So the Yokohama Chukagai. It was massive. And they had excellent food. It was good food. No orange chicken in sight.
That one doesn't work. But the abundance of foreigners leaving Chinese speakers absolutely flabbergasted with their basic Mandarin abilities should be proof enough that this language is possible to learn. I genuinely hold the unpopular opinion that Chinese is really not that difficult. People often see this language as the monster in their closet, the boogeyman, the insurmountable Mount Everest of languages. And sure, if you want to memorize all of the over 50,000 characters, it's gonna take you a while. But to learn the first few thousand that you'll need to use on a regular basis, it shouldn't take more than a few fortnights. People love to say that Chinese doesn't have an alphabet, but another hot take of mine is that Chinese does in fact have an alphabet. It's just over 50,000 letters long. But thankfully, all of the letters look exactly like what they mean. Look at this character for door. It looks exactly like a door. And this character for mouth. Looks just like a mouth. I was born in the year 1998, which means that according to the Chinese zodiac, I am literally a tiger. So let's look at the character for tiger. It looks exactly like the animal. You see the head, the claws, the teeth, the legs, and the hiney. If you can't, there's probably something wrong with you. And when you overlay a tiger on top of it, the depiction becomes clearer than a sunny day in Beijing. You see, Chinese is super easy to learn. Honestly, too easy. So if you want to learn a real big boy language, I recommend that you go start learning one of the 7 GigaChad languages offered on Speakly, who I'd like to thank for sponsoring today's video.
I've got to say, this man has the smoothest sponsor transitions I've ever seen. I need to take down notes here. Mine are always like abrupt. This guy is like zip, 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 and he flows, and then you're in a sponsor and you don't even know it. Oh, they're doing Italian. I appreciate that. There is actually something interesting that can be said to connect to his humor, of course, but the idea that Chinese characters just are like a drawing of what they represent, that is true, but only for like a very small percentage. I believe it was down to like 5% that are actual pictographic in nature. And in fact, so that there is a 5% of like 3,000 or 3,500 is still a pretty decent amount of those, like the sun or the moon, etc. So it can help to think it that way, but in reality, that will die out quick when you have to start working with, you know, semantic connections, phonosyntactic connections that characters have in compounds as well. That's where it all goes to. Like, for example, the tiger character that he showed that, of course, does not look like a tiger. I thought that was a great choice, but there are some other characters that they could have used for that. That would have been amazing to see. But yeah, no, it's very nice. Just to say, it is actually a lot less than people think that actually draw what they try to represent. It's like the original pictograms did function like that, but now it's only a very small percentage within the entirety of the Chinese written language.
But isn't Chinese a tonal language? Tones seem impossible.
I'm so looking forward to the sarcasm on this. We'll see how it's gonna do.
If tones actually scare you, you're probably a monolingual beta. Yes, it is true. Mandarin Chinese does have 4.5 tones, which aren't denoted by the characters, so you've just got to learn them all by heart. However, there is a form of Chinese writing known as pinyin, where they write in the American alphabet and include conveniently placed accent markers above the vowels. These markers honestly all look like different caterpillars attempting to achieve various tasks. The first tone is a sleepy caterpillar resting after kung fu practice. The second tone is a caterpillar trying to climb a ramp to get to an apple. The third tone is a caterpillar inching along the road on its way to Chinatown, and the fourth tone is a caterpillar sliding down a ramp like Tony Hawk. There's also a secret fifth tone, and they don't write that one, so we can only assume that the caterpillar is just dead.
That one is very debated, because at the end of the day, the fifth tone is the lack of a tone, which does influence the way you express or pronounce syllables. I wouldn't consider it a tone if it's the lack of, but then again, I love the caterpillar ones. I mean, it's a good way to remember them.
It may sound overwhelming, but every single person I've talked to who's actually learned Chinese to a high level says that the tones are not hard at all. In general, native Chinese speakers will understand you even if you mess up the tones, but you do run the risk of getting yourself into trouble in a few circumstances. For example, the word for kiss and ask is the same word, just with a different tone. Imagine you get the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to meet Xi Jinping in person, and you want to ask him what his favorite flavor of Bing Chilling is. And instead of saying, I want to ask you, you accidentally say, I want to kiss you. And to your surprise, he leans in and embraces you, and you fall in love, get married, and have one child. It's not policy anymore, but hey, he's a man of tradition.
So from context on the thing about kissing and asking, so of course asking is a very famous word that you learn immediately when you're a first year student of Mandarin, and it's wen, fourth tone. So you hear it a lot in, for example, sentences such as 请问. So may I ask, or sorry, excuse me, can I ask? And then you ask your question, 请问天安门在哪儿? Very simple way to ask, excuse me, where is Tiananmen? Now, when it comes to kissing, I think there is more than one way that people use, but the one he's referring to is a third tone, and it's wen. So the difference in tone would be wen versus wen. And yeah, I mean, he does have a point.
But honestly, screw tones. You could just John Cena the language and butcher them all. You could also make a ton of money and get very famous in China if you put low effort into learning the language. Of course, John Cena did it, but a bunch of YouTubers and other celebrities have done it as well. It's so popular, in fact, that there's even the term white monkey for white people who move to China to be in commercials, movies, and modeling, like a zoo animal just because they're white. Would the CCP shower me with money if I show for their country? China is the greatest country in the world. They are the future leaders of the world, and everyone should be forced to learn Chinese instead of our native languages. We should all only buy Chinese products as well. It just doesn't feel right. But if any political leaders of Uzbekistan, Chad, or the Virgin Islands are watching this, please send me a message on Instagram. So if the tones aren't hard and neither is the alphabet, why do people say that Chinese is the hardest language? The short answer is that they're monolingual, misinformed, and probably waste their time having a job or going to school instead of really studying languages. Chinese also sounds really beautiful. It has a distinct rhythm to it, and I've unironically used videos of Chinese people screaming to fall asleep. It's a shame so many people think it's impossible. But once you do realize that these roadblocks are actually easy to get around, you'll smooth sail to fluency. Chinese grammar is absolute hot dog water.
Love it. I love it. Like roadblocks, and he shows a B-roll of the Great Wall of China, saying it's easy to go around it. Hot dog water.
Say it's ridiculously easy. There are literally 0 verb conjugations, there are no cases, no articles, no plurals, no genders, and the word order is straightforward. If you ignore the characters and stop worrying about tones, you could be speaking in a month, no cap. I mean, just look at this sentence. This means I eat or I am eating. If you want to say I ate, you could just add a le at the end. And if you want to say I will eat, you could just add this word before the verb. See? Easy peasy.
I wonder how much his knowledge of the memes and the learning community, Mandarin learning community, is, because what he said now, you know, the thing about you don't even need to learn conjugation, just add these, hui or le. It's actually funny because there is a situation whereby there are a lot of Mandarin teaching channels that tell you do not consider le as a past tense, and then they give all of the idea of the completion of an action and all these situations. So I wonder if he did it on purpose and he was poking fun or saying something that he knows is gonna get people pissed in the Chinese learning community, or if he didn't know that, and then I have no idea, because his sarcasm is very well organized. So sometimes I'm like, did he mean that? Is that something that only a Chinese learning person will recognize or not? Well, we'll see, I guess. I'll have to look at the comments section, I suppose.
There's no BS where you have to memorize millions of variations of the verb, and I'm looking at you, Mexican. Speaking of things totaling in the millions, if you're a single and lonely man and you have money, learning Chinese will instantly unlock communication with over 600 million women in China and roughly 5,393,426.7 women across the world. And Chinese women are absolutely beautiful. I took Chinese classes when I was 13, and I'm still in love with my old teacher who got deported because they found out she wasn't even a teacher. But instead of pursuing women, I strongly advise you to just focus on learning more languages. Now it's time for the funnest part of the review.
Please.
Let's talk about the shock factor. How will native Chinese speakers react to you speaking their language as a foreigner? Even though Chinese is a global language with over 1 billion speakers, the truth is that not a lot of foreigners ever reach a conversational level. So if you're a foreigner and you whip out Mandarin Chinese with an excusable accent at a decent level, native speakers will literally do triple backflips, start Fortnite building IRL, scream, give you money, invite you to their homes, name their firstborn after you, shower you with gifts, give you diamond armor, hand you the deed to their house, and even evaporate out of pure excitement the moment you can hold a basic conversation in their language. I've seen it firsthand. I've studied Chinese for like 1 day max, seriously, and I used a few phrases on an exchange student, and he stared at me like I had 6 eyes and then invited me on an all-expenses paid trip to visit his family in China. I seriously can't overstate how excited Chinese people get when a foreigner speaks their language. I mean, come on guys, it's the language that started the shocking local.
Every time I try to use my Mandarin, which is limited, admittedly, when I do try to use my Mandarin in a restaurant, that's usually the context when I do it. It's nice because they enjoy it. I see that they always try to speak back, they enjoy conversation, and it's always a pleasant experience for me. I do believe there is a way to do it right, and I usually don't film myself, it's probably part of it. But I mean, it's nothing wrong when you do it like Oriental Pearl does. She always is really nice. There are YouTubers that do it in a way that is a little... Kind of depends. I think it depends. But yeah, sure. 非常好.
Meme. There's so much more I could talk about in this video, but my videos are notoriously short, so it's time to give the Chinese language an official rating on the SIMP scale. On a scale of dog water to Giga Chad, I place Chinese solidly in the mid-tier. I totally see why...
Mid-tier! Mid-tier! Oh, come on. You've got to... I mean, I would put it in Giga Chad because I love the tones, but if you don't, and you don't like, I don't know, whatever, then... It's gotta be alpha. It's gotta be alpha language simp. Come on, man. 为什么? Okay, that's fine. It is his channel after all.
Someone would learn it, but it's kind of the typical choice for someone who isn't a weeb or a BTS stan, but still wants to learn a major Asian language.
I see.
If you enjoyed this video, consider supporting me on Patreon, where I make language learning tips and tricks videos. And maybe
support him on Patreon. He's really fun. In fact, I kind of want to check his Patreon after this. I'm going to do that. That was fun. So let's do my own scale. So what I do, he's making this sort of scale of which one is best, which one is worse when it comes to the languages, and I do it with his reviews. So up to this point, number 1 is Italian for me. I loved Italian review. The Italian review was fantastic. I don't care, it's selective bias. Clearly, it's selective bias at play. Number 2 was Portuguese up to this point because I hadn't watched anything else. Now the Mandarin enters the picture. Where would I put it? Is it better than I don't know, because he did call... Italian is number 1 because he called it heterosexual French and discount Latin. It's going to be difficult to surpass. The jokes on the French one were pretty good. Baguette and all that. It was really nice. Yeah, I think I'm going to do number 1 Italian, number 2 French, number 3 Mandarin up to this point. It was nice. It's a little short. Gosh, 10 minutes. Props to him, though, because it didn't feel like I watched this for 10 minutes. I felt like I watched it for 3 minutes, so it means it was entertaining. He did a good job when it comes to the flow. So yeah, I'll put it on number 3 for now. What are we doing next? Because you guys, you number ones choose it. Am I going to do German? Am I doing... What else does he have? Let's check it out together. Let me see. Hold on a minute. Let me put myself top right like professional YouTubers do. So we did Italian. Language review. We could do Arabic. Why Americans? This one is not a language review. Well, I want to do the language reviews first. It's got some really, really good stuff. What have we got? So we got language review English. Okay, so do we do Arabic, English, or German next? I mean, we've also got Russian, I suppose. Yeah, you choose which one, you let me know in the comments, and we're going to have a great time doing that. Anyways, as always, thank you so much, Language Simp. I'll put a link to his channel in the description. Last time he posted was 2 weeks. Well, hopefully he'll drop a new video soon. And if he does, absolutely go watch it. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you tomorrow for my next daily upload here at Metatron's Academy. Ciao. 再见.